You're traveling through the unknown, a journey beyond the corners of reality, where the shadows whisper and the chill runs deep. Welcome to the dimension where your deepest fears are given form. This is The Midnight Mystery.
Welcome to The Midnight Mystery. This episode is called The Cursed Tapes of Whispering Pines. In each episode, we delve into the shadowed corners of our existence, bringing you tales of the eerie, the uncanny, and the downright terrifying. From the realms of the supernatural to the depths of the human psyche, no stone is left unturned, no dark secret left hidden. As the clock once again draws near midnight, prepare to embark on another adventure into the uncanny, the eerie, the horrifying, the midnight mystery. The invitation had come unexpectedly, a weathered envelope in my morning mail, bearing the emblem of Whispering Pines Asylum. For years, I'd heard tales of its infamous legacy, stories of inhumane treatments, ghostly apparitions, and tormented souls who never left its confines. Such myths only piqued my scholarly interest, turning the asylum into an object of my fascination. As I approached the forsaken building, its crumbling facade and overgrown premises exuded a melancholic charm. Every shattered window and creaky step spoke of tales forgotten by time, of voices silenced by the very walls meant to protect them. Inside, the air was thick with dust and stale memories. The oppressive silence was punctuated only by the distant cries of crows echoing through the dilapidated halls. It felt as if the very building was watching me, waiting for me to discover its dark secrets. "Hello?" I called out, half expecting some echo from the past to answer. Only silence greeted me. I began my exploration in earnest, making notes, taking photos. The deserted corridors, the therapy rooms frozen in time, everything hinted at hurried departures and untold stories. In a dimly lit room I found it, an old reel-to-reel tape player, resting atop a wooden table. Beside it lay a tape labeled Session 88. My heart raced. Could this be an untouched relic of the asylum's checkered past? I couldn't resist. With trembling hands, I loaded the tape and pressed play. A gentle hum filled the room, followed by a crackling voice that sent chills down my spine. It was eerily familiar. "State your name for the records," the voice said. A soft, hesitant reply came. "Evelyn." The realization hit me like a freight train. The voice conducting the session? It was mine. How could this be? I felt a hand on my shoulder, causing me to jump. Turning, I faced a man in an old custodial uniform, his eyes reflecting years of solitude and sorrow. "I figured you'd find that," he said with a sigh. "Who are you?" My voice trembled, a mix of fear and curiosity. "Name's Albert," he replied, extending a shaky hand. "Used to work here before the incidents. Stayed back even after it was abandoned." "Why?" I questioned, still in shock. "Protecting the memories," he whispered. "And waiting. Waiting for what?" "For someone like you," Albert said, pointing at the tape. "That tape. It shouldn't exist. But it does. And now that you've heard it, there's no turning back." "But how is it my voice? This place has been abandoned for decades." Albert shrugged. "Time works differently here. Past, present, future. They're just constructs. Here they bleed into one another." I rewound the tape, desperate for answers. "Should I continue?" I asked. Albert nodded slowly. "You have to. It's your destiny now." Pressing play, I braced myself for the horrors that awaited, hoping that in the echoes of the past, I'd find the truth of Whispering Pines. The gentle hum of the reel-to-reel machine was like a whisper in the background, but it was the voice that emerged, my voice, that rooted me to the spot. It was as if I was hearing a ghost of myself speaking from another plane of existence. "Evelyn, tell me about your dreams." My voice echoed through the dim room, its timbre one of patience and professional curiosity. A soft, shaky voice responded, "They're not dreams, Dr. Bennett. They're visions. Visions of what's to come." I listened intently, feeling a weight settle in my chest. The familiarity of the voice, the tone, the inflection, it was undeniably mine. But the conversation, this session, I had no memory of it. Evelyn's voice trembled, hinting at deep-rooted fear. "There are shadows, Doctor. Dark days ahead. Wars in places not yet touched by conflict, seas consuming the land, and skies burning red. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to process what I was hearing. Wars and natural disasters could be mere products of a troubled mind. But then her narrative shifted, and the horrors became far more personal. The shadows come closer, Doctor. To you. I see them hovering, waiting for a moment of weakness. They whisper your regrets, your sorrows. My blood ran cold. The details were intimate, personal, moments from my past, and even more disturbingly, moments that hadn't occurred yet. An argument with my sister about a family heirloom, a chance meeting with a childhood friend on a rainy Tuesday, a fall at my office that would leave a scar on my wrist. Events that were foreign to my memory. You must listen, Dr. Bennett. Evelyn's voice grew desperate. You think you're safe, that these are just delusions of a disturbed mind. But they're not. They're premonitions. And there's one more. One that ties you to this place. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to stop the tape, to run from the room and never look back. But a morbid curiosity compelled me to listen. The final shadow waits here, Evelyn continued, her voice dropping to a haunting whisper. In the asylum, it's dark, formless, but hungry. It's waiting for its moment to claim you. You can't escape it. I felt the room close in around me. The weight of her words, the dire predictions, pressed down, making it hard to breathe. My voice on the tape, the voice of a version of me that I didn't recognize, responded with a mixture of skepticism and concern. Evelyn, we need to focus on healing, on moving forward, my voice replied, trying to ground the conversation. You don't understand, she cried out. Time is running out. You need to believe me. The dim glow of my laptop illuminated the old desk at the asylum, forming a beacon of modernity within walls that seemed untouched by time. My fingers danced over the keys, searching for any trace of Whispering Pine's murky past. Albert, I called out, not looking away from the screen. Did you ever come across any records, journals, or notes about the patients here? The old custodian appeared from the shadows, the weight of his years evident in every step. Most records were destroyed when the institution shut down, he said, adjusting his glasses. But there might be something left in the old archives. Hours turned into days as I scoured through old documents, newspaper clippings, and patient journals. Whispers of a unique patient began to emerge. Words like seer, oracle, and prophetess littered the pages. Yet strangely, there was no mention of a name. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I found a tattered diary buried underneath a pile of papers. The first entry read, They all think I'm mad, but I see things. Shadows of what's to come. They're calling it Session 88, but it's more than just a session. It's a warning. There was no signature, but instinctively, I knew it belonged to Evelyn. Albert! I exclaimed, waving the diary. I think I found something. He approached slowly, peering over my shoulder as I flipped through the pages. The entries detailed numerous visions, some vague, some terrifyingly precise, but all of them bore the weight of inevitability. The events she wrote about, I whispered, realization dawning. They're happening now. Albert nodded gravely. Whispering Pines has always had its secrets. Evelyn was one of them. She arrived under mysterious circumstances and vanished just as mysteriously. But why is there no record of her? I pressed. Some say the authorities wanted to cover up her predictions, he mused. Others believe her visions were so terrifying that the staff destroyed all evidence of her existence. As days turned into nights, and nights into days, the world outside the asylum seemed to validate Evelyn's prophecies. News reports flooded in, wars breaking out, natural disasters wreaking havoc, and countless other tragedies, just as she'd foreseen. One evening, as a cold wind howled outside, Albert found me staring at a particularly disturbing entry in Evelyn's diary. The shadow grows hungrier. It lurks in corners waiting for its prey, but its real hunger is for one soul. He will come, drawn by curiosity, and the shadow will claim him. That's about me, isn't it? I asked, a lump forming in my throat. Albert's eyes were filled with sadness. I was hoping you'd never find that entry. I slammed the diary shut, my mind racing. There has to be a way to prevent it, to change the future. Albert sighed. Evelyn believed that knowledge of the future could alter its course, but she also knew that some events, some fates, are inevitable. The facade of Whispering Pines seemed even more foreboding upon my return. Its shadowed windows and cracked walls appeared to hide more sinister secrets than I had initially fathomed. The cawing of a solitary crow overhead pierced the quiet as I approached. "Back again?" Albert's voice echoed as he emerged from behind the large front door. "I had a feeling. We have unfinished business," I replied with determination, thinking of Evelyn's haunting words. The familiar chill of the asylum greeted me as we ventured inside. However, it was different this time. More pronounced, as though the very walls bore witness to my previous visit and the revelations that came with it. Walking through the corridors, I felt drawn to a particular area. An old wooden door with a broken seal hanging askew. A feeling of dread gripped me as I approached it. "Do you know what lies behind this door?" I asked Albert. He hesitated before answering. "It's one of the old therapy rooms, but after certain events it was sealed off. No one's been inside for decades." Without waiting for further explanation, I cautiously pushed the door open. Dust particles danced in the dim light, revealing a room frozen in time. Faded portraits lined the walls, and in the center stood an old therapy chair, its leather cracked and worn. Around the room, discarded medical tools and journals lay scattered, remnants of the many souls who had once sought solace there. But what caught my attention most was a large, ornate mirror mounted on one wall. Its surface was cloudy, and despite the room's gloom, the mirror didn't reflect anything. No reflection of me, Albert, or the room itself. "That's unusual," I whispered. Albert nodded gravely. "That mirror. It's said to be linked with Evelyn's visions. Rumor has it that the therapists used it in sessions, believing it had special properties." Suddenly, a cold gust of wind blew through the room, causing the pages of the journals to flutter. I felt an overpowering urge to approach the mirror, to try and see beyond its cloudy surface. As I drew closer, whispers filled the air, too faint to discern any words but growing louder with each step. The room's temperature dropped even further, my breath forming frosty clouds. Suddenly, the whispers grew deafening, an overpowering cacophony of voices from the past. And then, a single clear voice pierced through. "Heed my warning, Dr. Bennett. Evelyn." I reached out, my fingers grazing the cool surface of the mirror. As they made contact, the room around me faded, replaced by rapidly changing visions. I saw wars, natural disasters, joyous occasions, and devastating tragedies, the interwoven tapestry of human existence. And then, a darker vision materialized, my own reflection, eyes hollow, with the shadowy depths of the asylum behind me. A surge of emotions overwhelmed me, and I pulled my hand away, the visions dissipating instantly. Gasping for breath, I stumbled back, the weight of what I had just witnessed pressing down on me. Albert rushed to my side. "What did you see?" he asked, concern evident in his eyes. I shook my head, trying to process it all. The future, the past, and a warning. We locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between us. The mirror, Evelyn's visions, and my connection to it all. It was a puzzle that needed solving, and fast. The soft, rhythmic whirring of the reel-to-reel drew me in like a moth to a flame. Its reels spun continuously, a slight hum in the otherwise silent room. But it wasn't just any tape recorder. It was the very same one, or so it seemed, that had ignited my journey into this abyss of time and truth. I took a step forward, the air thick with tension and an inexplicable sense of déjà vu. My own voice emanated from the machine, steady and professional. "Evelyn," it began, "tell me what you see." Another step, and now I could hear her, that same melancholic voice from the tape I'd discovered earlier. "Dr. Bennett," she whispered, "you're here, but not here, caught in the loop of destiny." I felt a chilling sensation crawling up my spine. Looking around frantically, I spotted a chair opposite the recorder, and in it a faint silhouette, ephemeral and ghostly. Evelyn. Facing her, the realization hit me. I was not just a listener this time. I was an active participant, living the very session I'd heard. My fate, it seemed, was sealed. "Why is this happening?" I demanded, my voice echoing in the chamber of forgotten memories. "Why am I here, Evelyn?" She looked at me with eyes filled with a sorrow that transcended time. You were always meant to be here, Dr. Bennett. The tape, the predictions, they're all threads of the same tapestry, and now you're bound to it. I felt a pang of anger and desperation, but I came back to prevent this, to change the future, to free you. Evelyn's laughter, soft and haunting, filled the room, and yet by trying to change the path, you've set yourself upon it. The tape you heard was a mere echo of this very moment. But the predictions, I stammered, trying to make sense of the twisted reality. They've started coming true. How can we stop them? Evelyn leaned forward, her ghostly figure becoming more tangible with each passing second. That's the paradox, Dr. Bennett. The tape is both the cause and the effect. To break free, you must understand that. As the tape continued to roll, our conversation unfolded. Her cryptic riddles, the horrifying predictions, all playing out just as I'd heard. And as the weight of it all pressed upon me, a desperate idea formed. I lunged at the recorder, intent on stopping it, erasing this cursed session from existence. But an unseen force held me back, keeping me inches away from the machine. Evelyn's voice grew urgent. "You cannot fight it this way!" I fell back, defeated, the tape's haunting conversation still echoing. Evelyn's form grew clearer, more present. "There's another way, Dr. Bennett," she whispered. "You're not just a pawn. You have agency. To change the future, you must first accept it." The soft echo of footsteps grew steadily louder. Turning, I glimpsed a dark figure emerging from the shadows. Dr. Gray, his spectral form radiating malice and disdain. Worn medical garments hung from his ghostly frame, bearing testimony to an era of cruelty. "You," he hissed, his words slicing through the cold air. "Why do you meddle in matters that do not concern you?" I took a step back, my breath catching in my throat. I wanted answers," he smirked, his ethereal form advancing. "Answers, you say? Evelyn has been quite chatty, hasn't she?" The temperature plummeted further as a second presence made itself known. Evelyn, her form shimmering with a cold light, hovered beside the reel-to-reel, her fingers grazing the tape. "Did you think she was here to aid you?" Gray sneered, his laugh echoing coldly. "Evelyn has always been ambitious." Evelyn's eyes, devoid of any warmth, met mine. "You've played your part perfectly, Doctor. You see, I needed both of you here to break free." My heart raced. "Break free?" Gray's expression shifted to one of begrudging understanding. "Ah, I see. She wants to use our energy, our very essence, to release herself. How delightfully treacherous." Evelyn's laugh, cold and triumphant, filled the room. "Your reign, Gray, and your torment of the lost souls here gave me the time and power I needed. And you," she directed at me with a sinister smile, "your curiosity and desperation have brought the final pieces into place." The reel-to-reel began to spin on its own, faster and faster, emitting a high-pitched whirring. The very air around us seemed to crackle with energy. Desperate to regain control, Gray lunged at Evelyn. "You will not escape while I still exist here!" Evelyn merely waved a hand, and a force seemed to push Gray back. "Your time is done," she hissed. As they clashed, the room's boundaries started to blur, reality twisting and warping. I felt an overwhelming pressure bearing down on me. The walls of the therapy room started to shift, taking on the appearance of an old surgical theater. Chains appeared around my wrists and ankles, pulling taut and forcing me onto an operating table in the room's center. I struggled against the restraints but found them impossibly strong. Dr. Gray was similarly bound to an adjacent table, his spectral form now solidifying into a more tangible, yet still ethereal state. He looked at me, his once arrogant demeanor replaced by genuine fear. "She's turning this place into her own twisted laboratory." Evelyn approached, instruments of torture and experimentation floating beside her. "For too long I've been a mere spectator, a shadow in the background. But now," she mused, selecting a particularly wicked-looking scalpel, "I take center stage." I tried to scream, to shout for help, but no sound came. The cold, sharp edge of the scalpel grazed my skin, a stark reminder of the horror about to unfold. Dr. Gray, his voice filled with loathing and dread, murmured, "We're trapped here, together, destined to suffer at her hands for all eternity." Evelyn's laughter, triumphant and chilling, was the last thing I heard as the world faded to black, our fates sealed in an endless loop of torment. This is the start. Dark days begin, wars in places not yet touched by conflict, seas consuming the land, and skies burning red. I hope you enjoyed our episode. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to you, our brave listeners. Your presence in this shared journey into the unknown is what fuels our stories. Your fascination is our motivation. Did this episode send chills down your spine? Then leave your comments, your thoughts and theories, your own midnight mysteries. Your feedback is the beacon that guides us through the uncharted territories of our stories. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to our channel. By joining the Midnight Mystery family, you won't miss out on a single chilling tale. As a subscriber, you'll be the first to know when a new episode lurks around the corner, ready to pull you back into the shadowy depths of the unknown. This is the Midnight Mystery signing off, leaving you with a simple reminder. When the clock strikes 12, fear the silence, for that's when our tales come to life. Good night, Midnight listeners, and remember, not all who wander into the dark are lost.